Welcome to Beyond the Clinic, the podcast for health professionals ready to transform their expertise into innovative income streams that extend beyond the traditional clinic model. I'm Sarah Armand-Bushell. I'm a registered dietitian and certified business coach and proud owner of 2 successful online businesses. I understand the leap from the security of a regular salary can feel intimidating because I've been there too. But it doesn't have to be scary, and you do not have to do this alone. Here you'll learn tangible strategies to accelerate your business growth. So if you're dreaming of using your expertise to create impact and a life of freedom, then you're in the right place. Welcome to episode number 58, How to Build an Audience Before You Have Anything to Sell. Picture this, it's early morning, the house is still quiet. You're sitting at the kitchen table, cuppa in hand, feeling that familiar buzz of excitement and nerves. You want to build a business, you can feel it calling you, the freedom, the purpose, the chance to help people in your own way. But there's one big question that echoes in your mind. How on earth do I start building an audience when I don't even know what I'm selling yet? Or maybe, do I have to become an influencer to make this work? Building an audience isn't about fame. It's about building trust, and trust starts long before you ever try and sell. This podcast episode was inspired by one of my amazing readers. So if you have got any ideas for me, please email me and let me know, and I'll record one for you. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to start growing your audience, especially if you're starting from scratch, if social media feels clunky or it feels unfamiliar, and if you're still busy balancing NHS shifts with family life and growing your own business. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear, doable plan and start connecting with the right people, simply one step at a time. If you're listening to this episode today, I guess you might find yourself in one of 2 places. Maybe you're still working in the NHS, for example, dreaming about setting up your freelance business, but wondering where to start with building that audience online. Or maybe you've already taken a few brave steps. You've registered as a freelancer, maybe even listed yourself on the BDA directory, maybe even set up a basic website, but you're realizing that having your services listed isn't enough to actually bring in clients. You know that social media is supposed to help you connect with people, and you know it's important to build a presence online. But when you actually sit down to post, it can feel really confusing. You find yourself thinking, what should I write about? How do I talk about what I do if I haven't really launched anything yet? Or how do I connect with people without sounding awkward or salesy? The platform itself might sound overwhelming. Think of Instagram. We've got stories and reels and posts and lives and carousels. I mean, which one are you meant to focus on? Are you supposed to show your face? Is it weird to post if you don't have a full offer yet? You might even open the app and then close it again, because without a clear idea of what to say, posting feels impossible. You might even find yourself scrolling other people's accounts for inspiration, seeing confident posts, polished branding, seemingly effortless engagement, and wondering, how did they get started? It's not that you don't want to show up. It's not even a confidence thing. It's that no one's ever really explained how. If that's where you are right now, I want you to know that is totally fine. You're just standing at the very start of a path that actually most healthcare professionals aren't brave enough to walk. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to take those first steps into social media simply, strategically, and without needing to become someone you are not. Because building your business doesn't start when you're ready to sell something. It starts way before that, when you're showing up to connect with people and be helpful. So imagine a moment waking up on a normal weekday morning, you make your coffee, you open your phone, and there, sitting quietly in your notifications, are a handful of new followers. Real people. Not bots, not colleagues or friends doing you a favor, but real potential clients. People who found you because they were looking for answers and something you shared made them stop scrolling. You post a simple thought that morning, nothing fancy, maybe a quick story about a client breakthrough or a small tip for a tired parent managing picky eating, or a reflection on what you wish more people knew about in terms of gut health. And then you get comments. Not hundreds, not viral, just a few genuine, heartfelt messages. Thank you. This is exactly what I needed today. Oh, I've never heard it explained that way before. That was so helpful. This makes me feel much less alone. You reply, you have a short back and forth conversation, and you smile because even though it's early days, you're actually building real relationships. You're not posting into silence. You're not wondering if it's working. It is working because you're connecting. Then fast forward a few months, your audience has started to grow. It's not huge, but it's healthy. It's steady. It's warm. You're no longer guessing what to post. You know exactly what your audience is interested in because they tell you through those comments and those questions and those DMs and those little moments of trust. You don't feel pushy. You don't feel fake. You feel good because you're showing up as yourself. And when you go to finally launch your offer, whether it's a one-to-one service, a workshop, or an online course, it doesn't feel scary. It feels natural because by that point, you know these people. Your audience knows you. They already trust you. They already see you as someone who understands what's going on in their world. And those early connections that you build, one thoughtful post, one tiny conversation at a time, those people actually often become your very first clients. So picture now a day in the future. You're working from your cozy home office. Maybe it's a bit like mine, your converted garage. Your laptop's open, you've got your cup of tea beside you, your calendar's filling up with bookings that you're really excited about, your inbox is pinging with client inquiries, not because you chased people, but because you built relationships first. So they came to you. And it all started with one thing: building and connecting with your audience before you had anything to sell. And if that's the future that you want, it starts with just one thing, actually. It's starting now, exactly where you are, building connection before creating offers. And that is exactly how I started. So, when I first started in the online business phase, I didn't have a grand plan. I didn't have a marketing degree or a brand strategist advising me. I was actually a tired NHS dietitian sitting at my kitchen table thinking, I'm at the top of my game. I've got at least 25 more years before I retire. There's got to be a bit more to it than this. And then one night, after yet another exhausting clinic day, after school activities, getting dinner on the table, I opened Facebook. This was before Instagram was a thing. And I created a business page. Nothing to sell other than my time, just me and a decision to show up. So at first, I posted little tips for parents feeding their children. The things I was already saying every single day in clinic, small pieces of advice that I knew would make a difference. Some posts I wrote at 10 p.m. sat on my sofa in my pajamas. Others I scribbled in my lunch break and posted from the hospital canteen, squashed in between the microwave and the vending machine. There was nothing polished about them. There was no fancy graphics. But people, over time, started to take notice. One mum messaged me to say thank you. Another shared my post with her friend. A pediatrician commented that she loved my gentle, evidence-based approach. And I didn't try and sell anything, and actually I didn't really know how to at that stage. But what I did do was listen. I noticed what questions kept coming up. I asked people what they were struggling with and how I could help them. I paid attention to what resonated and also what didn't. And at the time, I also started blogging, writing longer answers to the questions that my followers were asking, sharing free, practical advice. And it was long before I knew about SEO. It wasn't for the purpose of driving traffic. It was for the purpose of trying to help people, trying to reach more people. And slowly, without any ads, without any funnels, without any really understanding about marketing, an audience began to grow. And when the time came to create my first offer, I wasn't guessing what they might need because they'd already told me. And that's the magic. And it's still how I come up with new offers to this day. And it's absolutely within your reach as well. So When you're starting out, one of the biggest traps is thinking that you need to be perfect, that you need to have your whole niche mapped out on a vision board before you can even begin. But honestly, you don't. But what you do need is a bit of a direction, even if it's a bit of a messy one. So start by asking yourself, who is it that feels quite easy for me to talk to? Whose struggles spark a little fire of empathy inside me? Who essentially can I help? Now, you don't have to get this right immediately. You're not carving this in stone. You're just simply choosing a place to get started, to start having conversations. So think about your own clinics. Who are the patients that you secretly look forward to seeing? Whose problems made you stay an extra 10 minutes sketching out ideas on the back of a continuation sheet in your clinic notes? Start there. Then close your eyes for a moment and imagine your favorite client. Look at the details. Who are they? What are they struggling with? What would you love to say to them right now, today, if you could? When I first started posting online, I didn't know I would eventually specialize in pediatric feeding challenges. I was just a pediatric dietitian. I worked in diabetes actually. And I just knew that I felt deeply connected to stressed, exhausted parents, particularly of younger children. And that was enough for me to begin. So clarity doesn't come from thinking harder, from working this all out. It comes from getting started, from acting, from noticing, and just adjusting along the way. When you're new to social media, it's so easy to feel like you need to teach everything you know all in one go, or you feel like you need to show up as the expert, or you worry that you need to be endlessly creative, dancing, pointing, trending, creating beautiful graphics. But you know what? You don't need to do any of that. What your audience really craves is super, super simple. They just want to connect with you. Before they want solutions, they want to feel seen. They want to feel validated in their worries. They want to know you understand them, that you get them before they listen to your advice. And that's why connection focused content matters so much more in the beginning. So there's three types of connection focused content that you should really be creating on if you are trying to build an audience. So number one is pain points. So this is the small everyday struggles that your ideal client is facing. So not the dramatic once in a lifetime crises, but the quiet niggling frustrations that just go on all of the time. So some examples might be feeling guilty because they didn't cook from scratch for their family this week. It might be they're Googling baby-led weaning tips at midnight and feeling even more confused than before. They might be wondering if they're the only one who seems to start the day okay, but by lunchtime they're bloated. And when you name that struggle, that real struggle that people are facing, they feel seen. And feeling seen is the first step to building trust. So think back to a conversation you've had recently. Maybe it was in clinic, or it might have been with a colleague or even with a friend. What frustration did they mention? That might well be a post. So the second type of connection content you can create is micro education. So this is teeny tiny pieces of advice that someone could implement and try straight away today. So it's not a full masterclass. It's not a 7-step framework. It's just one small doable idea. So I call this micro education, and this is perfect for attracting new followers. So it needs to be a really quick win. And here's some examples for you. It could be if you're feeling tired by mid-afternoon, try adding in a protein-rich snack like a handful of nuts or a boiled egg. It could be if you want a super simple fiber boost to your usual pasta supper, try chucking in some frozen peas into your pasta water for the last 2 minutes of cooking. Can you see? These are just teeny tiny snippets of micro education. They're not meant to solve everything. They're meant to give your audience a really small feeling of success, of positivity, and a sense that change is possible for them. So, what's one tiny tip that you've given somebody in the last week that made someone say, "Oh my gosh, that's so helpful"? I'll give you an example of mine actually. Last week, I shared with my sister that not all ultra processed foods were bad. She was so grateful for the fact that she could still give her kids Weetabix for breakfast in the morning and not have to cook up these epic breakfasts before they went to school. So, the third type of connection content that you can create are behind the scenes moments. And that's because people don't connect with polished brands. They actually connect with real humans. And a super easy way to do this is just to bring them on the journey of everyday life with you. So share little glimpses of your life, your work, your process, not in a forced way, but in a natural, this is me type of way. So, some behind the scenes ideas for you could be a snapshot of your messy desk while you're writing a new resource. It could be a quick story about how nervous you felt before posting your first reel. It could be a peek at your dog snoozing next to you while you work. And when people see your real life, they feel permission to show up imperfectly too. And that deepens that connection more than any viral reel could ever do. So if you're thinking now, okay, that's great. I've got 3 types of content I can create, but what do I actually say? Here's a simple formula that you can use over and over again. So step 1, you start with a relatable hook. So that is a sentence that draws people in. So it might be ever felt, and then insert a small struggle, and thought, and insert a relatable thought. Step 2 is you share a tiny story or moment. So it might be, that was me last week or when I started, and here's what I learned. Step 3 is to offer one simple tip or a reflection. So it could be something like, one thing that really helped was, and then insert the quick win. And then step 4 can be just to end with a really soft question that prompts conversation. So it could be, have you ever felt like this too? Or what's your go-to strategy for whatever? So here's one that I've written for you as a real example for you to get the picture. Ever felt like social media is just one big noisy room that you'll never figure out? When I first set up my Instagram, I barely knew how to post a story. I'd spend 20 minutes trying to find the sticker button. One thing that helped massively was treating it like a conversation, like chatting to someone over the garden fence, not a lecturer on stage. What's one part of social media that still feels confusing for you? So, can you see I've used that same framework as a potential post for advertising this episode? So, I think I will use that one when this episode goes live. Every time you show up with care, you're laying foundations for the community that you want to build. And from that community comes the business that you want. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see new business owners make on social media is treating it a bit like a loudspeaker. So they might post a tip, they might make an announcement, they'll share an update from HQ, and then they wait. And when no one responds, they feel like they've failed. But the secret here is that social media isn't really about making declarations. It's the clues in the name. It's a social environment. It's about starting conversations and having conversations with people. So when you post, think of it less like a broadcast and more like inviting someone into your kitchen for a cuppa and a chat. So imagine posting something and somebody replying, not with a like, but with a comment that says something like, well, that really resonated, or this is exactly how I've been feeling. That's what you're aiming for. So there's tiny, meaningful conversations. So how do you invite conversation? At the end of every post, just ask a soft question, nothing intense, nothing complicated. So, good conversation starters might be something like, does this sound familiar? Have you experienced this too? Tell me about it. What's one thing that's really helped you with that? Or I'd love to hear your favorite, and then whatever you've posted about. So, when you invite conversation, you lower the barrier for people to interact. You make it easy for them to step into taking or having a dialogue with you. And in business, relationships are everything. So, after you write your next post, pause before you hit publish and ask yourself, am I broadcasting or actually am I inviting a conversation here? And if you can do this one thing consistently, invite and nurture small conversations, you'll be 90% ahead of the people trying to build online businesses. There's a funny thing about starting anything new. We often think, if I can't do it perfectly, what's the point in doing it at all? And I think with social media, that mindset can be paralyzing because you tell yourself, I'll post when I've got my full content calendar mapped out, or I'll show up when I have a professional photo shoot booked, or I'll start once I've got 30 brilliant ideas all lined up. And in the meantime, of course, days pass, weeks pass, and that account you opened with so much hope just sits there gathering dust. But the truth is, it's not the perfect plans that build momentum. It's that messy, imperfect action when you just start and you take that action consistently. Consistency doesn't mean constantly. You don't have to post every single day. It doesn't mean you have to burn out. You don't need to be glued to your phone. It simply means deciding to show up, even when it feels a bit awkward. It means just keeping a small promise to yourself that you are going to do this. So when I first started, I chose 2 or 3 days a week to post. And what I did is I marked them in my diary, almost like appointments in my calendar. And I had a list of tiny ideas. It was actually stuck to my wall, handwritten list of tiny ideas that I could refer to for inspiration. And you know what? When I started, my commitment was really simple: Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That was it. And what I did was I carried on with that for years, actually, until I could afford to bring on a team to help me with that. And now we do post every day, but that's only been in the last 18 months or so. So some weeks it might have just been a tip that I scribbled out while waiting for the pasta to boil. Other weeks it was a simple photo of my notebook with a thought about feeding kids. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't strategic in the way that we talk about in terms of marketing, but it was consistent. And that consistency built the trust, and not just with my audience, but it also built the trust within myself as well. So I often think a great analogy here is your post on social media is a little bit like watering tiny seeds, because you'll plant them and you often don't see the results immediately. You can't force your veggies to grow faster by staring at them. You simply water them, you nurture it little and often without expectation, and trust that growth is happening beneath the surface. And then one day, suddenly, you'll see those green shoots breaking through. So, right now, I'd love for you to ask yourself, what posting rhythm feels manageable for you? What small commitment can you make to yourself for the next 30 days? And write it down in your diary. Your consistency is a signal to yourself and to your future clients that you're here, that you're serious about this business thing, and you know what? That you can be trusted as well. When you hear the word networking, how does that feel? You might immediately picture something a bit stiff, a bit awkward maybe, name badges, instant coffee, standing around in a room making small talk that you don't really want to be having. Networking is really important in online business, but thankfully it's nothing like that at all. When it's done, it's really natural, it's really human, and actually it's really fun as well. So building your audience isn't just about creating your own content. It's also about connecting meaningfully with other people who are interested in the same stuff as you. Because when you show up and engage authentically with other people's content in other people's online spaces, you automatically invite them into yours. They'll want to come over and have a look. And over time, those small, genuine interactions, they do add up. So just find a few accounts where your ideal client also might be hanging out. So for me, I would think about parenting accounts, well-being communities, other healthcare professionals perhaps, and start commenting thoughtfully on their posts. Now, avoid the generic comments like great post, useful tip. You want something real. You want something that shows that you've actually read the post or had some sort of feeling about what they've shared. So when I was first growing my audience, I made a little habit that every morning after the school drop off and before starting my working day, I'd spend 5 minutes commenting on 3 to 5 posts. And they were meaningful, human comments. There was nothing strategic about it. It was just genuinely building connections with people in my niche. And over time, we got to know each other. Some of those people are some of my business besties now. And those small conversations turned into new followers. Their followers saw me commenting and came over to my account. But really, it formed some really lovely collaborations. And we all support each other in business. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that some of those new followers that came from these other people's audiences might have even been my very first paying clients. And it wasn't because I asked, it wasn't because I pushed anything. It was because I just showed up as a real person who was interested and cared. Now, the thing here is that algorithms, which can be our enemies at times, but algorithms actually reward conversations. So when you comment on other people's content, you're more likely to be shown to new audiences. And the other thing here is that people remember kindness. A thoughtful comment stands out more than another pretty graphic would. Trust builds faster through dialogue than through a static post. So have a think about who is it that inspires you? Who's having conversations that you'd love to be part of as well? And then follow them, engage with them, be really helpful, use an encouraging voice in their world, but without any expectation. And that's how real momentum begins. So here's what I want you to do today. Just pick one of those ideas that I've given you, just one. Maybe it's drafting your first connection focused post. Maybe it's commenting thoughtfully on 3 accounts that you admire. Maybe it's just simply setting a posting rhythm that you know you can stick to. Whatever it is, just take one small action within the next 48 hours. Not to be perfect, not to be polished, just to get started. Because audience building isn't about big, flashy moves. It's about small, consistent ones that you're brave enough to take when nobody's watching yet. And you, my friend, are already braver than you think. So if you've made it all the way through today's episode, you know something powerful. You don't need to wait until you have a perfect offer to start building your audience. You don't need to be a full-time influencer. You don't need to have it all figured out. You simply need to start showing up and connect with people, one conversation at a time. Thank you so much for being here. If this episode gave you the nudge that you needed, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who's starting their social media journey too. Bye for now. That's it for another week. Thank you so much for joining me as we explore the abundance of strategies to help you recapture that feeling of possibility and excitement as you drive your business forwards and beyond the clinic room. If you found today's episode inspirational, then don't forget to like and subscribe to the show to stay in the loop for more valuable advice that I'm going to be sharing each week. If you want to be the first to hear about new episode releases, news and ways that I can support your business growth, then please don't forget to check out the links in the show notes, and you can also connect with me from there. Don't keep me a secret. I would be delighted if you left a review and shared this podcast with your colleagues. Until next time, bye for now.